You have less than 3 seconds to make a first impression. And the scary part is that 93% of that impression is formed before you even utter a single word. While you're mentally planning what you're going to say, the people around you have already decided whether you're trustworthy, competent, interesting, or irrelevant. Sound unfair? It's worse than that. It's completely unconscious, based on primitive codes that neither you nor they can consciously control. Here's the brutal truth most people will never discover. You're constantly broadcasting invisible signals that communicate your position in the social hierarchy, your level of confidence, and even your emotional stability. It's like having an emotional billboard taped to your forehead that updates in real time based on your internal state. Great executives, charismatic leaders, and magnetically attractive people haven't just mastered technical skills. They've cracked the code of nonverbal communication that happens on autopilot. The personal development industry will sell you powerful body language techniques and confident postures, but that's just the surface. What you'll discover in the next few minutes goes much deeper. How your eyes reveal your social standing before any greeting, why the speed of your movements is a thermometer of your inner security, and how your muscular tension creates an energetic field that people sense from meters away. Prepare to never walk into a room the same way again. Your eyes are the first giveaway of your position in the social hierarchy, and people decode this information in milliseconds, long before your conscious brain processes what's happening. Have you ever noticed how some people make natural, sustained eye contact, while others look away as if constantly searching for an escape route? This difference isn't shyness or politeness, it's pure primate language encoded in modern behavior. Amy Cuddy, in her body language research, discovered that reaction time to establish eye contact is directly related to what she calls presence. The quicker and firmer the contact, the greater the perception of status and trustworthiness. It's as if your eyes are an evolutionary calling card, announcing your place in the social food chain before you even consciously decide how you want to be perceived. The timing of eye contact works like emotional Morse code, communicating dominance, submission, or equality in fractions of a second. People in positions of power establish eye contact immediately and hold it for longer periods, not because they've been trained to do so, but because they genuinely don't feel the need to hide or ask permission to take up visual space. It's the difference between someone who looks you directly in the eye when greeting you versus someone who glances briefly and then looks away to the floor, their phone, or any other escape route. The former says, "I'm just like you and deserve your attention." The latter whispers, "I don't want to bother you. I can leave whenever I want." It's not a cruel act of nature. It's just evolutionary biology applied to modern social interactions. And those who understand the rules can play the game much more effectively. Mastering eye contact isn't about staring at people intimidatingly, but about developing the inner calm necessary to sustain visual connection without discomfort or hidden agenda. When you can look into someone's eyes as naturally as you gaze at a beautiful landscape, without rushing, without fear, without the need to impress, you automatically convey something few possess: genuine presence. It's like having a silent conversation where you're saying, "I'm here, I'm present, and I'm comfortable with myself in your presence." This skill transforms casual interactions into memorable connections and makes people feel truly seen. But eye contact is just the first element of a much more sophisticated system. The speed of your movements is an unconscious thermometer of your inner security, and other people's primitive brains read this information like a real-time social status scanner. Have you ever noticed how truly powerful people never seem to rush, even when they're solving urgent problems? They walk, gesture, and speak with a cadence that suggests they have complete control over their time and space. It's not posturing or arrogance, it's the physical manifestation of someone who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. Malcolm Gladwell, in Blink, documents how our brains make instant judgments based on behavioral microsignals, and speed is one of the most primitive and reliable. It's as if hurried movements scream, "I'm insecure about my position here," while controlled movements whisper, "I belong here." The difference between haste and urgency is what separates genuine leaders from people who are merely busy, and this distinction is immediately apparent to any observer, even if subconsciously. Insecure people move as if they're constantly late for something more important, creating a frenetic energy that makes others feel uncomfortable without knowing why. It's the difference between a seasoned doctor walking the hospital corridors with purpose, but without panic, and an intern rushing back and forth radiating anxiety. The former inspires confidence. He knows what he's doing. The latter generates concern. Does he know what he's doing? When you master this slower cadence, something fascinating happens. People automatically assume you have authority, even when they have no logical evidence to back it up. It's pure evolutionary psychology. Controlled movements have always been associated with predators at the top of the food chain. The secret lies in understanding that strategic slowness isn't lethargy, it's energy conservation applied to social interactions. You move only as quickly as necessary to demonstrate control without wasting presence. When you enter a room and don't quicken your pace to not disturb, when you don't gesture frantically to explain a point, when you don't speak faster when you feel resistance, you're communicating something profound. I have all the time in the world because I deserve to occupy this space. It's like having an internal emotional GPS that always knows the ideal speed for any given situation. This mastery of speed creates a magnetic presence that attracts positive attention and genuine respect because people feel they're in the presence of someone who isn't running away from themselves. But this external cadence is merely a reflection of something even deeper happening internally. Your muscle tension radiates an invisible energy that people pick up on even before they consciously process your physical appearance. It's like having an emotional radio station broadcasting your internal state 24/7. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately sensed someone was stressed, anxious, or conversely, completely calm, even with their back turned and in silence? This isn't mystical intuition, it's pure neuroscience. Our nervous system is equipped with ultra-sensitive detectors that pick up micro-muscle tensions, breathing patterns, and body postures from impressive distances. Dr. Paul Ekman, a pioneer in the study of microexpressions, discovered that we can detect emotional tension in others through signals so subtle that even the bearers themselves aren't aware they're emitting them. It's as if you were an emotional tuning fork vibrating at a specific frequency, and the people around you automatically tune into that frequency. Muscle tension acts as a primitive warning system that communicates threat or safety before any verbal interaction occurs, and it completely defines how people will behave in your presence. When your shoulders are tense, your jaw is tight, and your hands are clenched, you're saying, "I'm in defense mode." People don't consciously think, "This person seems tense." They simply feel less comfortable around you without knowing why. It's the opposite of charisma. Instead of attracting, you involuntarily repel. On the other hand, when you develop true muscle relaxation, not the forced, trying to relax version, but the genuine version that comes from inner security, you become a social magnet. People naturally want to be around you because your nervous system is, subliminally, communicating a safe zone. Mastering this energy field happens when you learn to internally scan your own muscles and consciously release unnecessary tension before important interactions. It's like having an emotional reset button you can use to instantly transform your presence. Imagine being able to deliberately relax your facial muscles before a difficult meeting, or release tension in your shoulders before an important conversation. You literally change the energy you're radiating. It's not about pretending to be relaxed, it's about genuinely creating the physiological conditions for relaxation to occur. When you master this, you develop something few possess: the ability to create positive emotional atmospheres wherever you go. People mysteriously feel better in your presence, and they can't explain why. But this energetic harmony needs to be aligned with another crucial element.
The inconsistency between your appearance, body language, and internal energy triggers primitive alarms in other people's brains. It's like an evolutionary lie detector operating below the level of consciousness. Have you ever met someone who was impeccably dressed, but something seemed off? Or encountered someone dressed casually, but radiated a natural authority that made you completely forget what they were wearing? The difference lies in congruence. When there's alignment between who you are internally and how you present yourself externally, people feel authentic. When there's conflict, they feel discomfort without being able to explain why. Malcolm Gladwell calls this thin slicing, our ability to make accurate judgments based on tiny slices of information. And inconsistency always raises red flags in others' subconscious. The human brain is a pattern detecting machine that's constantly checking whether all the pieces of your presentation fit together. And when they don't, you automatically lose credibility. Imagine someone wearing a $3,000 suit but with a hunched posture and a shifty gaze, or someone talking about confidence while their hands tremble subtly. It's not that people consciously think this person is fake, but they sense a dissonance that makes them question their authenticity. It's like watching a movie where the audio is out of sync with the image. Technically, you still understand the story, but something deeply bothers you. True elegance doesn't come from expensive clothes or impressive accessories. It comes from the harmony between your inner identity and your outward expression. That's why some people look magnetic in simple clothes, while others seem dressed up, even in magazine looks. Mastering invisible coherence happens when you stop trying to look like something and start simply being something. And this naturally reflects in every aspect of your presentation. It's not about having the perfect wardrobe or mastering body language techniques. It's about developing enough inner clarity that your external choices flow naturally from your true identity. When you genuinely know who you are and are comfortable with it, you automatically choose clothes that make sense, adopt postures that reflect your personality, and maintain eye contact that aligns with your inner energy. It's like being the director, screenwriter, and protagonist of your own presence. It all works together because it comes from the same source. People sense this authenticity and respond with trust and respect because there's nothing to decode or question. But even this perfect coherence can be sabotaged by something even more subtle. Body silence is a parallel language that speaks louder than your words. And the most revealing gestures are precisely those you don't realize you're making. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to be constantly preparing themselves, even when there's nothing to fix? Straightening hair that's already in place, adjusting clothes that are already perfect, checking your phone unnecessarily. These are small, self-soothing rituals that scream insecurity to any trained observer. Joe Navarro, a former FBI agent and body language expert, calls these behaviors adapters, unconscious gestures we use to manage internal anxiety. The problem is, instead of calming us, they communicate exactly the opposite of what we want to convey. It's like having an emotional megaphone announcing, "I don't feel comfortable here," while you're trying to sound confident. These micro gestures act as emotional leaks that sabotage your presence even when everything else is technically correct. It's the difference between appearing polished and appearing powerful. Touching your face during an important conversation, crossing and uncrossing your arms repeatedly, fiddling with objects without purpose, constantly adjusting your posture. Each of these movements communicates that you need something to feel secure in the environment. It's fascinating how people can be talking about topics they've completely mastered, yet their unconscious gestures betray an underlying insecurity about how they're being perceived. The contrast is stark. You can have the best argument in the world, but if your hands are constantly searching for something to do, you appear less convincing than someone with an inferior argument but calmly positioned hands. True mastery of bodily silence happens when you develop conscious stillness, not rigidity, but a quality of presence where every movement has purpose and every pause has power. Imagine being able to stay in an important conversation with your hands naturally positioned without the compulsive need to gesture or adjust. It's not about suppressing natural movements. It's about eliminating the anxious movements that dilute your presence. When you master this stillness, something powerful happens. Your intentional gestures gain much more impact because they're not competing with unnecessary gestural noise. You develop an economy of movement that makes every action feel deliberate and meaningful. People unconsciously interpret this quality as natural leadership. And in the modern social context, this translates into magnetic presence and automatic respect.
Now you know the secret codes that people instantly decode about you. But here's the question that will separate those who just watched this video from those who will use this knowledge to transform their presence. What will you do differently the next time you walk into a room full of people? Because knowing that your eyes, speed, muscle tension, coherence, and unconscious gestures are constantly radiating information about you is only the first step. The second is having the courage to adjust these signals to reflect who you truly want to be. Think about your next important meeting, social gathering, or presentation. Now imagine how different it would be if, instead of just worrying about what you're going to say, you also consciously prepared how you'll be in that environment. What opportunities would open up if people sensed your confidence before you even spoke? What relationships would deepen if you radiated a magnetic, calm energy? The difference between memorable and forgettable people isn't what they say, it's the presence they silently cultivate. But remember, authenticity always trumps performance. Use this knowledge to amplify who you genuinely are, not to create a fake version of yourself. If this content opened your eyes to the power of invisible communication, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications.